And again, I'm sitting here asking God for permission that He tells me the truth about life. Or do I need to tell it to myself? And again, I'm sitting here and I'm looking down, and all of the people, of everyone passing by, going by to his place of duty. Everyone seems to have something to do. And me, I'm sitting here and talking to a camera, still unable to find something, unable to settle down, still asking and thinking and thinking. As inspiring or great as this might sound like, it really isn't. It's the constant pressure of society, and it's the constant pressure of everyone down there who's passing by. The constant pressure of my parents, the constant pressure of my friends, the constant pressure of my co-workers, the people I'm currently living with in my shared house. Everyone needs to have his own work. And me, a person who doesn't, a person who cannot really say what he does, or can't really find what he wants. They are me and those people are divergent. And divergent is maybe a term which is currently satisfying the actual situation. So I need to find words to describe my situation. It's hard, especially because I do not speak in the same language that I think. And since I reduced my amount of social media consumption, this heavily affects the ability to express my feelings in the right way. And I think I shouldn't, and I think I should stop telling people what to do, or I should stop giving lessons, because I think people give a fuck about my lessons. It's that people in my age, people in every age, do not really care about my lessons. Or, yes, what I should do, what I need to do. But it's much more inspiring if they could hear my own struggle. If they could hear about my own learnings, and if they could hear about my own progress. So what did happen in the past few weeks, in the past few months? How did I contribute to the bigger picture? And I am creating a bigger picture whenever I write something, whenever I create a video, whenever I draw. I would like to draw much more, but whenever I create something, I'm creating this bigger picture. So I moved out from my parents' home in another really weird circumstance where I'm not really independent and not really alone. But this doesn't really matter. I think, what did I do? So I worked on organizing stuff, as I usually do when I do not know or I do not have a specific task. I even don't like to have a specific task. I rather go by feelings. I rather go by what's actually relevant right now, or what do I feel is right. I do a lot by just listening to my own feelings. And I can really sensitively, is it called sensitively? Sensitively feel in myself if this is this thing that I'm currently doing. I can sense it very sensitively. And I I try to trust it more. What did I do with my time? I think I tried to discover where I am, discover the city, and this was really fulfilling. I felt great while doing that. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity given by my parents, still supporting me financially. Thanks to my parents. Which in itself is a pity to say, and which itself hurts myself. Is hurtful. Do you say hurtful? Which in itself is painful to say out loud, but this was the case. And this will not change until I find a day-to-day job. But what are these day-to-day jobs all about? They're serving a purpose, which is not mine. But we do all know that, right? So I discovered a lot of places within my city. A lot of solitary places. I like solitary places. So there's a place where in English you say, in German we have a different term, community supported agriculture. And community supported housing. And there are some institutions here, not a lot, because the area I live in is maybe not the best area, but has not the best environment to establish such a organization. But there are some. So I went there and I spoke to new people. This was also really satisfying, where I could engage and interact with a lot of people, a lot of different kinds of people. Of course, I know and I ever knew that these differences within people, within their personality, within their mind, with their face, their appeal, they don't really matter. And they do seem to exist, but in my notion, they really don't matter. So I see them all equally, but they give me a part back of myself, I think. I do not know what satisfies me about talking to new people, but in some kind of way I enjoyed it. And so I contributed and worked with them without getting paid. And this left out this necessity of the money for almost any kind of socializing is tragic, where socializing only happens within pubs and I think the conversation with someone else in a surrounding which is not really quiet, which is really intimidating for your senses, is really superficial. So a lot of relationships nowadays are superficial, and these community centers, which are solidary, which are not based on money, for exchange of goods or for exchange of some kind of, I don't know. I didn't get anything from that. I just got the experience, right? So I got the experience. And this experience, which was not presuppose, which did not presuppose money, did not presuppose money, right? And because of that, I think the relationship, or just the environment, the environment of the relationship was much softer and was much less forced. Yeah, I think I spent a lot of time getting to know all of the possibilities that I have here in the new place that I moved. And slowly I find myself back on my own duties of documenting my life. And as I said a million of times, I think this documentation is what drives all of us onward, especially today. And it just changed, I think. And it was necessary throughout the whole life and the whole evolution of humanity. This documentation was always a part of intergenerational wealth, which was not necessarily the goods we produced. It was about our consciousness and our so-called Geist, Zeitgeist, our spirit, right? Our spirit. I think you shouldn't always say Geist, right? Spirit is also really adequate for describing the Wesen, the so-called Wesen, the so-called essence. Maybe the essence is Wesen. It's really hard to translate. Yeah, so it's hard to concentrate here because there's much noise. So much noise in the city that it's so hard to concentrate. To concentrate on my purpose, I think, and the purpose, you need to find out your purpose. It's actual work to find out this purpose. It's found within work, and it's always like shaping and shaping. It's constantly shaping with the work and with pressure and with motivation you need to invest in order to like pull off these layers. I think Hamza Ahmed, which is a person that I admire really much for his work of finding purpose and like eliminating things which aren't contributing to this work of finding your purpose, but it all was about finding purpose, right? And with all of this noise, it's so hard to find your own purpose. You need this distance. And I constantly trying to build a distance, and I'm constantly trying to build this independence, because this independence makes sure that I have the possibility of establish this distance, which I see as a prerequisite. Yeah, and I think I still trying to build this distance to this world, even though this world needs me, and even though I need this world. A fair amount of distance is, I think, what I like currently. This fair amount of distance is what took me away from making more videos, but it was also my inner struggle. So maybe I should talk a little bit about the trinity of consciousness, or not really consciousness. It's still a thing. It's hard to, like, I try to wrap my own head around, and like synthesizing it and explaining it to someone else might be even more harder. But I think after 18 minutes I can finally end this documentation, this kind of diary, which I want to establish into my life, and like, yeah, in talking about this tomorrow, about this trinity. And hopefully all of these thoughts are productive and work together with me, and trying to illuminate a path where I want to go, because I think the biggest thing I like is a way to go. It's not that I'm not capable of discipline. I think I showed and I proved myself that if the time is there, I can do videos every day for 1 month, and I did this. So I'm actually able to, I proved myself that I'm able to do it. So what I lack is a path, is a goal that it's worth working towards. And defining this goal is really hard, and I'm defining it the whole day, and I'm not doing anything besides that. I think all of us do. This is not really special. I do not think that I'm like more special than others. I may be more privileged than others, because I have the time for this currently, after I moved out of my parents' home, where I still live on the money from my parents, and that is a privilege, and I know that, and I try to, and I need to admire this too and be grateful for it. But I don't think that I'm special because I think about life and goals. But this goal that I wanna shape, no, shape's not the right word. Chisel? That I wanna chisel out? Maybe that's the right term. Is also not very linear. I could not say that I will find this in this and this amount of time, right? And as hard as it is to define your own goal, as hard is it to create this, like, to give something a number, and to give a guide a number. Like, if if your biggest goal would be that you do not know, if your biggest issue, right? Let's assume if your biggest issue is money, it's not easy to make a guide on that, right? Because what you're searching for when you're searching for money is your purpose, and not less than that. Because social media is almost a direct reflection of your life. If you see some influencers, and if they at some point were able to gain what you so call influence or a community or fans. Let's take James Scholes, for example. He really did nothing else than, like, there was no spare time. There was no, when he did his 12-hour live streams, maybe you should look them up, he was documenting his complete life. You could assume that he, after this 12 hours, was only sleeping. So what he did was he filmed himself the fully 12 hours. He filmed his whole life for 1 year. Everything he did besides sleeping. And I mean, this is something we all do. So why bothering about holding on this moment for eternity within the media world? Yeah, but I think he also talks about drive, right? But I really think what he did is finding his purpose. And it was a really important task. It was about learning. It was about discovering. It was about an adventure. Even though it was only on a digital world. What to say about that, right? A meta world, right? That he was discovering. But he was also constantly chiseling. But he did the same thing, of course. There must be a foundation. And I think I lack this foundation. Or maybe I already have it and I just don't recognize it as this foundation. For me, it's the universalism. For me, it's the not letting something pass by. Not losing, but also not adding. It's about everything. It's about life. That I want to document and wrap everything around. It's not only one thing. It's not only coding. It's not only self-improvement. It's not only working out, building muscle. It's not only mindset. It's not only philosophy. It's not only like lyric, poetism. Is it called poetism? You know what I mean. It's not about one specific area. It's about them all. And even for this, I think there were already some people, mentors, which were discovering this topic. And it was mainly metaphysical, it was mainly philosophical. But there's nowadays with all these new possibilities of solidary working, solidary organizations, we can participate in someone else's life and someone else's work life. And I think working is almost your whole life, right? And it's about money, right? So we're talking directly about the work you do all day long. And with these new possibilities, I can interact and I can visit and I can see and also, what to say? To apprehend. I think to apprehend all of it and to apprehend more than just one discipline. And maybe that results in a more encompassing consciousness and in a more